One dark and stormy night, a dame walked into my office here on Vija Please. Vile visit to Bajor. My name is Joseph.
You know, I still remember the day the Federation showed up with all those bright fluorescent light bulbs. Boy, that was a real headache, but once you get through it, it's nice being able to see what you're doing. I'm your co-host, Peter.
Peter, I wanted to discuss a future Vija Please live event with everybody. And I say everybody excluding you because I don't think you're going to be interested
That's
in this
good,
one.
Joe, because I want to discuss an intervention that needs to happen.
It's going to kill two birds with one stone.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time everyone's listening to this, it should be, let me actually take a look at the old calendar here, January 16th. So it'll be a week and a day after this, on January 24th, that the Star Trek Section 31 movie is going to be released to Paramount Plus.
Boo and hiss.
This thing apparently is so bad, the screeners aren't getting through it. It is possibly something truly dreadful that is about to be unleashed on the public. And
on the profits of Paramount.
The now Skydance owned Paramount.
This is going to be a bigger conversation after your foolish plea here.
Yes. I have decided that the Vija Please community can and should come together to commemorate what might be the most god-awful piece of trash ever to have the name of our beloved franchise on it. And so I will be streaming the movie in Discord for live reaction to whom everyone can participate. Peter will not participate, so I will need all of you to help. I may get very loaded before this happens to be able to tolerate this plan. I will probably start the movie on the 24th around 8 p.m. Eastern time. We can work that out. I will put links to the Discord. Information will be in the Discord, but plan on 8 p.m. Eastern time, January 24th. If you want to do that, get in the Discord, send me an email at vijaplease@gmail.com, a DM at vijaplease on Twitter, or hit us up on the Facebook group, the Vija Please Trauma Support Group. However, just get in touch. I'm not secret about where I'm at on the internet. I'm at Intern of Doom is my normal Twitter. You can even get me there. And I would love you to be part of it. Just be advised that I'm going to be far meaner than Peter and I typically are when we are doing this show. We try to keep our true power level a little constrained to keep it a little bit more open for everybody. So if this is like 30% of our true power, I'm going to be more like 80. So also don't participate if you're not willing to hear me say very vile things. So, but I need to. It's group therapy. It's a therapy office. That's what we call the Discord. And then it's time for us to have that therapy together. Are you sure you don't want to participate, Peter? I mean, you're welcome.
Oh, cool. You know, you're welcome to come by my toilet after I make a BM and help yourself to the fruits of my labor. I'm gonna give you a little Red Dead Redemption here, Joe. I implore you not to do this. I implore everybody listening to the sound of my voice to tell Joe not to do this. No good will come with this, and only harm. And let me present the following exhibits. Exhibit A is when you watch this on this Paramount Plus membership or whatever the fuck it's called these days, what you're doing is rewarding them for doing something bad. Okay? At least have the decency to pirate this thing so
I will acquire it without spending money. Everyone has my word. I will not pay for this. I will get it however I need to without spending money.
Because I know you already have the subscription, but if you click watch it,
I ended my Paramount Plus subscription. I ended it.
Good on you. Because we don't want Kurtzman getting any cookies.
Strange New World Season 2, that shit came to an end.
Exhibit 2 is it's going to be bad and it's only going to waste your time and make your head hurt. And 3, it may actually cost us listeners because when we went above 50% of hate with Picard season 1.
Season 1, yeah. We were at about 60%, I think, because we maxed out at 60% there.
No good will come of this.
I'm not going to record it. You're going to have to be there
Good.
live
So
if you want this experience.
The people who you hemorrhage, it'll be contained. The incident will be contained to just that. We'll call it the Section 31 incident. Here's a bigger conversation. I've had it spoiled for me already. Are you aware of what happens towards the end of Lower Decks season 5?
I am.
This is all like the nerd rumors coming true, right? And this is the writing that's always been on the wall. And that is that if you don't like New Trek, maybe you're not just a fucking baseless hater, trash person. Maybe you are a honest to goodness Star Trek fan who has come to the logical conclusion that the majority of Kurtzman Trek has not been good Star Trek or even good TV, and that the fact you're not watching it doesn't make you literally Hitler. It's just someone with a little bit of taste. And the people out there who have rabidly enjoyed this stuff is the minority, while the majority, which used to pay for plates, decorative plates, and t-shirts and action figures and all the other merchandising that has made or had made Star Trek this evergreen property, that Kurtzman destroyed a cash cow, the cash cow. And as a result, a Skydance has come in, which already didn't like Alex Kurtzman because he swiped staff off of him and there was bad blood, is able to look at what he's done and said, all you've done is lost money and cost money and close bridges that used to be made out of gold. We want this all to stop immediately. And as we have put this huge cash injection into you, Paramount, you take whatever opportunity you have, which right now is Lower Decks, and you throw all of the Kurtzman stuff in the fucking trash and tell people this is alternate reality and give us the ability to start rebuilding this fucking cash cow from the ground up.
First, I'll say something very kind about Lower Decks is that the people making that show came to that conclusion years ago, because when they did the Red Letter Media joke beat for beat within Lower Decks on purpose, it really communicated something. And then, Jack McQuaid going on Red Letter Media twice since then.
Yes.
So obviously, if anyone's going to see what we see, it's going to be the people making Lower Decks.
Lower Decks, which was supposed to have 7 seasons and got fucked out of their last 2 by Kurtzman. So there's clear beef there.
But I don't think it's necessary. Like, I want to believe in the idea that Kurtzman Trek is going to essentially be relegated into a separate timeline and shunted away, and whatever Star Trek becomes in the future is going to be something else. But they're actually actively in production of that stupid Starfleet Academy show right now, and it hasn't been stopped. No one has pulled the plug.
Stop it, man. Like,
what's that?
You got contracts and stuff. Like, there's some things that
you could tax loss that thing right the fuck now. They killed Batgirl after it was done. They shoved that shit in a locker. No one ever saw it.
Batgirl didn't get its trailer out, and Kurtzman pushed this thing.
There's no trailer, and there's just as much material out there for this Starfleet Academy show there is for Batgirl, which is to say none. So they could still tax loss it at any time, but it doesn't look like they are. They are full speed ahead at making this thing. And if that isn't going to be stopped, then I don't buy into the theory that Skydance has yet gotten their hands on the problem that's before them. I think Occam's razor, Peter, they've run out of fucking money. Kurtzman doesn't have any more money to waste, so he is cutting things off, and he is cutting down the material he's making to his projects and his projects alone. And that means this movie, which he spent an absolute fortune on,
$12 million just on Michelle Yeoh,
and that's going to be on the Starfleet Academy show because that's his little personal pet project. And Akiva Goldsman keeps getting to make Strange New Worlds because it's the only thing with a fucking pulse. And that's it. That's the real story. That's why Prodigy didn't make it. He's just cutting everything else off because the money is running out. We're not to the end of the story yet. But the fact that Michael McCann got that joke in the finale kind of as a fuck you. I definitely see him. I definitely understand it. He's telling Kurtzman he's a fucking hack. I completely agree. but that is not Skydance making that decision.
I'm going to choose to believe it's Skydance. I'm going to maintain hope that they're going to come in and right this fucking ship and that they have common sense, and that they are going to pull a Willow on this thing where once they're fully inserted, all of this stuff's going to get pulled and written off to the best of their ability to recoup funds. And I hope that the good parts of the new Trek, Strange New World, Season 3 Picard, all the lower decks, is accessible in some way, but fucking Disco and this Section 31 thing, happy to see it go. But I guess time will only tell. And again, man, $12 million on Michelle Yeoh alone, who is sweating hard that this thing is going to like legit hurt her career, which I think
she's every right to think that too.
Absolutely.
I mean, she's not doing. She did zero promotional work for this thing. I think she did like a fucking Zoom call from her living room with a gun to her head at one point for New York Comic Con panel that just felt like
it's a fucking directed DVD. Like,
yeah,
what did they promote?
Academy Award winner Michelle Yeoh got $12 million to be in this turgid piece of shit, and I would like the V'ger Police community to watch it with me. So, if you're interested, mark your calendars. January 24th. It's a Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Get into the Discord. Help me help you. We'll do this together. I'm telling you
right now, when you watch this thing and you hurt yourself, if you dare come to me for any degree of sympathy or condolence, I'm going to give you the same fucking speech that I give to my children when they're doing shit I just told them not to do. And then what happens that I warn them about happens. They don't eat their dinner and then they're hungry, or they're jumping around the couch and then someone falls off. I'm going to say, oh, Joe, I was afraid something like this might happen. I feel so sad for you because I told you not to do this thing and then you did it and now you're hurt. It's a big fat I told you so, and I can't wait. So you be the dummy and fucking look right down the barrel of this shotgun.
Yeah, okay, Dad.
We'll see.
I got you, man.
We'll see who's right. We'll see who's hurt. See how many fucking teeth you lose.
Peter, I know better than at this point in our friendship to ever go to you for anything that resembles sympathy.
Not after I told you.
It's not
You're going to go to jail for domestic violence because somehow you beat yourself up watching this thing. Your wife's going to get pulled down to the station. They're going to think that she got you with the baseball bat and it was really you just hitting your face into a corner of a wall. All right, man.
What episode of Star Trek Deep Space Nine did we watch this week, sir?
We watched Season 2 episode Necessary Evil, first aired November 14th, 1993, written by Peter Allen Fields, directed by James Conway. We got some split star dates here. We spend most of our time back in 2370 in the old Tarek Noir phase, but a little bit of time in 2365.
Yeah, I kind of forgot how good this episode was. I remembered its plot, but not how cinematic it is.
Mm-hmm.
This is straight up trying to be a freaking Maltese Falcon noir detective story. It's very much like an ex post facto, but what if it was good?
Yes,
right? Like
yes. Here's how I have to frame this thing. So it was a really good episode that I ultimately did not enjoy because it's depressing and
it's a good episode you didn't enjoy. It's an interesting way of putting it.
Yeah, like everything about it's great. The story is great. The cinematography is great. At its core, this is a story about showing you what was Tarek Noir really like.
Right.
Who's Gul Dukat?
Who's Odo?
Who's Odo? Who's Kira Nerys? War is ugly and people do things that they're not proud of, and ultimately, you know, nobody comes out looking terrific in this thing. It's not a feel-good episode by a fucking long shot. And I'm glad I watched it, but I don't have a desire to ever go back and watch this thing again.
I agree, obviously, on the quality level. The watching it again was an extremely fun experience for
How
me
long's it been?
since I've seen this one. I haven't watched season 1 and season 2 probably since 2012, 2013. So yeah, it's been more than 10 years probably since I've
I'm just saying,
rewatched this part of the series.
if I turned on the TV and I saw it was this episode, I wouldn't be compelled to sit down and watch it again.
I just the artistry of the production
Mhm.
just was a level above what Star Trek typically is. A lot of thought went into
Well, let's talk
just
about James Conway then.
yeah, and maybe that is a good time to bring him up. He is a name we have not seen before, but he is a name that is probably most well. We have seen his name. He did a few of Voyager episodes. He did the 37s.
Oh,
Persistence
speaking of
of
great
Vision.
cinematography,
Yeah, that city.
you
Death
know,
Witch, Innocence.
well, the 37 specifically, you're talking about excellent cinematography. The portrayal of the city of the 37s, I went back and I just rewatched that episode. It's like Jurassic Park, man. The fucking CG on that.
We've done this joke already once this season.
You know what it's a joke? I will go back to every time because the quality of that city deserves it. Persistence of Vision was which one?
Persistence of Vision.
That's the one where the doctor gets shrunk.
And well, they're all experiencing hallucinations.
He gets his projectors are fucked up. He's like little.
Correct. That is the subplot for the doctor. But
is that the one where the caretaker's girlfriend comes back and it's like a horror episode?
No, this is the one where I think this is the one where Janeway. Was it Janeway's making out with somebody and this is her fantasy in the turbo lift? Is it what you call
No, that's the Demi Q. That's just a fucking asshole evil Q thing.
God, I gotta remind myself. Anyway, it's actually his Deep Space Nine episodes that you should care about. Duet, obviously, very good. Necessary Evil, great. Way of the Warrior, that's going to be a very important one. Little Green Men is well loved. For the Cause and Apocalypse Rising are kind of, again, seminal. He did all bangers in Deep Space Nine. There's not one bad episode of Deep Space Nine that he's responsible for.
Well,
I don't want to talk about him because I don't want to spoil them, obviously, but he crushed it every time he came out for this show.
All of his Voyager entries are pretty much trash. 37's Persistence of Vision might have been okay, but Death Wish was the Q Wants to Die episode. And then Innocence, which was kids, space Amish kids that Benjamin Button backwards, trash. But Enterprise, Broken Bow cinematically was great. Judgment was Sal Gachman.
Yes, great episode.
Great episode. Great feelings of, again, I think that really portrayed that not cinematic, but that camera work, Empire and Fall. No, Fallen Empire. No, that's Falling
Empire. Empire in Decline.
Damage was
it was after the adventure with the Romulans. I think.
That's where
no. That was in season 3. So that's
when he steals the warp core from the space marks.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
And then In a Mirror Darkly, chef's kiss on that. So he had to shake off a lot of turds in Voyager, but the guy's capable of great stuff, as is evidenced by what we see here in Necessary Evil.
So the episode begins with the whole episode goes out of its fucking way to be as classic noir film as possible. And it starts in the very first shots when we have a well-dressed dame in a white dress silhouetted against a stormy window having a somewhat sinister seeming conversation with your favorite local crime boss and mine, Quark. It's a wonderful framing device because we get a ton in their dialogue. First, they know each other. Second, they knew each other during the occupation and Quark was some kind of black market fence for her. And he was always a capitalist, but was a little sweet on her, which she brings up. He's given her the sex eye. She is tolerating that very well. And ultimately, this is about her deciding to engage Quark for further illicit opportunities. In this case, to go just retrieve a little box from what she describes as her husband's old shop.
NBD. CZ. He is willing to pay she is willing to pay Quark 5 bars of latinum and touch his earlobes, which means suck his Ferengi dick.
Yes.
5 bars of latinum is 5 less than what Quark just paid Pell to go away and never be heard from again, even after she went to the Nagus and outed herself as a woman and cost him a lot of goddamn money.
Yes, that's also correct.
So that's my 10 bars of latinum is like my measurement apparatus of what a job is worth. Quark correctly calls out the fact she's not willing to go do it herself because she doesn't want to go around Odo. But the boobies continue to be Quark's Achilles' heel, it seems. So that, the promise of some nookie and some earlobe touching / 5 bars of latinum, enough to buy him off on this.
I like that Quark is consistently portrayed as a man who likes the ladies and is not afraid of liking them. That's not necessarily a common trait among Star Trek characters, and it's
short of Mud. I think it's the only one.
They've struggled to find the right spot for this, as they have with so much. This episode also is the first time where Rom's personality finally forms around where it's going to be for the rest of the show.
I also think here we are, season 2, episode 8. This is the first time we have the TNG classic, because Quark leaves, and then they zoom the camera in and play kind of sinister music on her eyes.
They do.
Which
there's someone, the assassin enters the chat there too. But
yeah,
but I like that Quark he's got a weakness for women and having his ears touched, and as a man, I respect that. So clearly, something sinister happening here, more to what than meets the eye. We know this because of the musical sting and the mysterious man that steps out of the shadows, and that's when we get
smoldering murder
guy. And that's where we wind up with the most noir element of this episode of them all, and that is the framing device are the many log entries that Odo is starting to make as it relates to station security, and they are overly verbose and also extraordinarily dramatic. The first one is very Odo, which is to say, he just says, keeping records is stupid. You wind up with too many of them. Humans are weird for wanting all of these records, but it's my job, so I guess I'm going to have to make them. Everything is fine. This is the end of my record. Like, he's just has contempt for the idea. And then as the episode goes on, he just starts narrating his train of thought into it and doesn't really care if it's professional or not, because he never cared about doing this to begin with.
I disagree. I read this entire thing as him going into it as a petulant child who is upset that he is being forced to make logs, and ridiculously quickly appreciating and embracing it.
It's like suddenly like, wait, no, this is rad. I'm making audio drama.
I started a podcast. It's called The Security Log. Odo is not a functional adult. Odo has huge undeveloped parts of his personality, and in many ways, Odo is still a child. And as a parent who watches my children fight me tooth and claw on whether they're going to eat something new, and the complete lack of ego as they go, oh no, I love this. Yeah, this is good. What's this called? I love this. This is good. Like, that's what I'm seeing there, is him trying something and it turns out, wait, this is a great idea. I'm going to go too far with it.
Who also goes too far is Quark and Rom as they decide to do a little B&E on the former chemist shop, which is now apparently just a big storage unit.
It's a ship store.
No, they
I
say
think.
it's storage. That's what they said during the episode. And as I mentioned, Rom's personality has been a bit scattershot up to this point. He has been portrayed as a nefarious schemer, just not as talented as Quark, I think, for the most part. You know, he didn't want to let Nog go to school. He was seen as much more interested in being a Ferengi. And from this is the spot where they're like, no, actually, he's going to be this lovable doofus. He's going to be the doofus brother who's like a tech genius. And they just hard shifted into it right here, which I think it works for making Rom a occasional comic relief character that shows up on a recurring basis. Like, but it is like, you are still the man who attempted to kill your brother with a drone, and I guess we're all going to forget this now because we can't advance the plot with that having been a thing that happened in the past. We're also going to have amnesia about the fact you've literally tried to kill him.
As the person who never let Phlox take his feet out of the fire for the crimes against sentient life of not Dear Doctor.
Yeah, it was Dear Doctor. Mm-hmm.
I'm willing to let Nog go on this.
Rom
go because Ferengi culture sucks, and fratricide for profit, I would say, is, within the genre, and they needed to do something with this character to make him a value add on screen, and this is absolutely where he belongs.
Yes.
So two big things are happening here. One, we are framing him as hyper competent by the fact that he can beat Quark on picking locks, which we know that Quark is fucking great at. That he was able to do in less than 10 seconds what Quark was saying was going to be 18 seconds?
30 seconds.
30 seconds. Melting wall panels with chemicals instead of using bright, flashy torches. Like all the moves that Quark was going to go to, he's got a better option. And that he is in fact a great brother who is not trying to cheat Quark. And although he has employed all of these things in the current heist based on direct experience circumventing Quark's own security measures, all of it was done as to not inconvenience Quark,
right,
and hold his best interests at bay.
You've nailed it all. Like, this is where his character belongs. It actually provides a direct contrast to Quark in a way that makes their dynamic much more interesting.
And to punch things up, Quark hates him for all of these things and condemns him as a thief and a cheat and a bad brother.
So, you want, if Rom is merely Quark but incompetent, then it's not as much fun. But if Rom is actually like a good-natured, happy-go-lucky tech genius that really just wants to do a good job, but oh boy, he's just bad at being a Ferengi. Like, okay, like there's something,
that voice right there, that was it perfectly.
Yes.
I don't know what old-timey boomerang TV show that came off of, but that's where he belongs.
And as you're spoiled because of Lower Decks as to where this plot ends up going,
sure,
but makes it so there's more of a journey for him, right? Like there's now development for him. He's going to encounter other characters. He's going to do things. There's going to be a lot that happens.
He is going to add another piece to this Quark's Bar enclave of lost or broken toys. Yeah, the lost island of broken Ferengi toys, where this guy is not on Feregnar because he is not a good Ferengi. He is something else that is a good person. And
Quark, for his part, knows this about Rom and is protecting him by getting him away from them. So
it's like Rain
Man. We've already established in the prior episode, Quark secretly not a bad guy. But in this case, they do break in, they get the box. Of course, Quark opens the box. Can't expect him to do anything else. Neither did the dame, evidently. And there's a list of names. And Quark is looking at the list of names, planning to make a picture of it, and make some use of this. When Smoldering Murder guy shows up, it's very professional. Like, she knew you were gonna look. Sorry about this. And Quark's like, I'm dead. I'm gonna get shot by this man. It says, yeah, so am I. And he gets shot in the chest so hard that he flies back like 15 fucking feet.
Now, when we're saying shot, you're probably thinking he got phased. What this guy did was he brought like this Joker Harley Quinn big revolver, and when he pulls the trigger, a giant red punching, like boxing glove, shoots out on some sort of an according device. It is ridiculous. I've never even seen Data throw somebody as far as Quark gets yeeted. It's not the injury to his chest that I think Bashir really has to worry about healing. It's the back of his head after he has essentially fallen off the top of a 40-story building with the impact that he has to land off of this. It is comical, and I am there for it. Thank you,
James Conway.
James Conway, for your use of an air ram to launch this fucking guy. I think, does Murder Hobo skedaddle before Nog shows up, or does Nog catch him in the end? Rom. I'm just going to confuse these guys forever.
I know. That's why I'm going to continue to put me correcting you into the audio.
It's very hard.
I got to get my wins where I can. So yeah, Rom yells after he is left. He does not see him.
Fucking dudes. He's good at yelling. He's got the pipes for it. He's lucky.
At least they make a plot of it, right? Like,
Smoldering Murder doesn't show back and fucking space launch this guy into the fucking atmosphere either.
So we cut back, and it's Bashir who is doing his doctor thing, trying to keep Quark alive, who is somehow not dead from this gaping chest wound, but
there's
only
no wound.
just
he's warmed up. Point of continuity, they call in an anti-gravity sled to transport him, which per Melina or whatever I thought wasn't supposed to work in DS9.
Good point. They were good about continuity.
Episode. Bad.
They did bring up, like, when you stayed overnight in the Gamma Quadrant, I had to be able to get access to your safe.
I know, that's what I was like.
That was good continuity.
Yeah, it was great continuity.
Bashir is busy with trying to save Quark's life, but he's not dead, clinging to life. Odo comes in, and he and Cisco work a good cop, bad cop on Rom to see if he's responsible. And Odo tries to pin it on him. And
so you're telling me the guy who shot your brother and it's going to give you the bar wasn't you. You, the guy who tried to kill him not once, but twice.
You did say you'd let this go.
I know. I'm letting Rom go into good guy land. I'm not letting Cisco and Odo, while they're investigating an attempted murder.
Forget the other attempted murder.
Attempted murders by the same guy.
He ends up falling for the trick and coughing up to Cisco that they got names off a piece of paper. And when he is leading Odo back to where they stole it from, he starts to have the next big thing you do in any good noir story, and that's a flashback.
Cisco, by the way, apparently, and I didn't know he could do this, was the good cop.
He was.
He put his arm around me. He's like, your son and my son were friends. I'm a good friend of yours. And I was like, who?
Cisco took his Valium. He was good. He was happy Cisco that day.
Is this the same guy that just beat the shit out of a Klingon hand to hand?
Well, you see, like, Kira hasn't asked to commit any acts of terrorism lately. Like, it's been real chill for him.
Maybe he just hit his limit break and he's got to recharge his bar, so he's in chill mode right now.
He took extra Federation.
Well, he's always on extra Federation. They know this guy. Julian got specially briefed by Starfleet Medical before deploying. They're like, look, don't let this guy know, but we're going to need you to get into his replicator and make sure that any cheese has extra Federation Prozac folded into it because he is testy. Yeah. He folds. He's walking over Odo to go check things out. And when he mentions the chemist shop, which is where they just robbed, the spin around like Odo, like this fucking place that I think about every day shamefully about the one that got away. Like, what did you just say? This is the number one thing on my character background. Like, I've been waiting for this moment for
Peter Allen Fields activated my personal plot. I'm excited. It's about me right now.
The only way that he could have spun around faster is if I think someone could have said Kira Nerys and dominatrix boots.
To me, the best part of this episode is how the flashbacks are handled, because out of nowhere, you thought this episode was going to be about this little like weird criminal activity on Deep Space Nine. No. We're going to have our first bites at several apples today. First, suddenly Dukat's in this episode, which means it's better. Let's face it.
Oh, yeah.
And we've got a number of different little subplots that we're going to start to encounter. First, who is Odo? How did he wind up as the security chief on Deep Space Nine? He worked for the Cardassians first. How did that work out? So we're going to get that. We're going to start to get that story. Second, we are going to get a sense of what Terok Nor was like when the Cardassians were running it. Like, what the fuck was this place?
Spoiler alert. Not a good place to live or visit.
No, real shitty. Real shitty Fallout slave camp type of vibes. Like
1 out of 5 stars on Yelp.
This is not feeling great. And then third, we can get to know about Odo. We're going to know about Terok Nor. We're also going to get to know a bit about what is Gul Dukat. Like, is there some sort of like protag in there somewhere? Why is he interested? You know, what game is he playing? Like, why is he suddenly interested in hiring a good cop rather than continuing with his corrupt security force? Why has he put himself in this position?
And then, hey, let's talk about Kira Nerys too.
And then, yeah, Kira's going to enter the chat. Kira's going to have a big part of all this. And
Kira's not going to come out looking like roses.
I don't think like when this episode starts, you're thinking like, oh, this is going to be like a heavy backstory, heavy continuity. All of this shit's going to matter forever type of episode. But suddenly it's here. And the stuff on Terok Nor is great because of how well it contrasts with the present day. Renee Armenteros and Nana Vister absolutely crush playing two versions of their own characters within the same story that are very, very different in their expressions, their body language, their speech patterns to convey that they were different people then because they were younger, they were more naive in their own ways, you know, trying to figure out dealing with difficult problems. And now here, several years later, in a much different and more advanced circumstance.
They had better hair and cooler clothes.
I don't know. I think Kira's outfit works for her. It's Odo. It's got
Kira's hair looks better long, obviously, because
disagree. The short hair is definitely her look.
That's between you and how am I fucking freezing on this name? Vasquez.
That's true.
That's absolutely the vibe I think they were going for, and she accomplished it and took it way further than that, but that is definitely Vasquez here. Terok Nor itself, let's call it for what it is in these flashbacks. And I would say the entire vibe of what these flashbacks are, because while they're going for film noir, what they're accomplishing is tech noir. And when you talk about the Terminator and what the Terminator is conceptually in genres, action, horror, sci-fi, cyberpunk, tech noir. And tech noir is defined as a hybrid genre of fiction, particularly film, combining film noir and science fiction, epitomized by Blade Runner. And man, it hits all the notes perfectly.
Yeah, yeah, it does. If tech noir is supposed to be OG Blade Runner style aesthetic, yeah, Terok Noir in the past is 100% on that.
The place seems to be lit by electric fences. It's dirty. There's like plastic sheets separating communal living spaces.
There's an ambient noise of suffering, like general malaise.
The lighting is terrible to live in. It looks cool as fuck. But this place is a soul crushing dump where there is just armed with rifle thugs everywhere. And God help you if you're stuck here. And I love it. It's depressing to watch, but it is phenomenal. The pacing on the shots in there, again, very slow and Blade Runner. They capture the genre amazingly, starting with Odo, who is, and I really tried to like compare and contrast what his makeup in the flashback looks like to his makeup in the present day episode 8, and like if it was noticeably different.
It was in the sense that it made him look younger in the flashbacks. Like in the flashbacks, he seemed just more just slicked back, more he was supposed to be a young
Pointy.
adult. And now as time has gone on and his features have continued to develop as he tries to master the human form and looks more detailed, he actually looks older. And I think that was a 100% designed character appearance change for this episode, because they basically did the same thing with Kira. The Kira looked much younger with the longer hair and civilian clothes.
Much more maideny.
Yes.
He's wearing a high turtleneck, kind of like tunic with this long duster coat. It feels very, I'm going to call this right now my favorite future civilian clothes ever, across anything. Real dystopian, real looming and foreboding, and kind of authoritarian, but still very civilian, very outsider. It all looks great. And talking to Kira real quick, I want to mention, her having long hair, playing up her beauty, making her seem younger. Absolutely the look that somebody who is participating in a terrorist organization would lean into, as to not look like a killer problem that you need to keep eyes
to
on.
appear harmless.
Yes.
And to use it to leverage access.
Yes.
100%.
Also, Terok Noir and the way that everybody's dressed, very importantly, looks very cold and miserable and ghetto, and everybody is dressed warm. And between that and the lighting, it so starkly contrasts what Cisco has been able to turn Deep Space Nine into. Even though DS9 under Cisco still looks pointy and sharp and alien,
it still is much more inviting and much more looks like a lived-in space in a real space station rather than whatever the fuck Terok Noir is.
Yeah.
So the actual plot, now that we're 45 minutes in, is in the past, Dukat has called for Odo because Odo actually has a pre-existing reputation as to settle disputes between Bajorans, because he is quite noticeably an outsider. And everyone has come to the same conclusion, which is Odo, for whatever reason, just doesn't have much of an ego and really is obsessed with justice. So he mediates disputes quite well. And Dukat, having heard this, is like, I need someone to mediate a dispute, specifically to tell me who the fuck killed this guy. Here's his body. This is all I got right now. I can give you his widow. That's the only thing I have resembling a witness. And I want you to solve this murder because as he puts it at the beginning, he's like, I've been told to solve this by just finding 10 Bajorans and killing them. I would prefer to have an alternative option. And, it tries to put momentarily Dukat in a position where he seems almost like a protagonist to say, I don't want to murder like 10 more people. So if you help me find the one person who's responsible for this, that's going to be a lot less death around here. And this appeals to Odo's sense of justice sufficiently that he agrees to take on the case and work his Dukat's, at that point, unofficial cop.
First, Odo having this station reputation as a impartial adjudicator works because if you are the local Bajoran population, what are your options if someone wrongs you? To go to the occupant guards and say, hey, I've got a problem. So either you can get beat, you both can get beat, or maybe somebody can get killed. Or do you go to a third party community pick to settle your differences? So I completely buy that he's got this weird community power already. Second, I absolutely love the way they introduced Dukat in this episode, where he's just laying around this fucking murder scene like he's Peter Pan.
Talking about the time before everyone knew that Odo was, sentient, doing
Party tricks.
Weird party tricks.
The Cardassian neck trick, which I'm guessing he makes a Cardassian cobra neck or whatever. I love Dukat. Period. Put him in as many scenes as possible. This dude is such a fucking shitbag. And
you should be fat by how many scenes you just choose. Like you should be obese. The man just can't not.
What's his name? Mark something.
Own it. Yeah, Mark Almo.
Who apparently at some point read oh, you know what? I love being on Star Trek, and I'm so happy to be back here. And I'm just gonna love the shit out of every chance I have to be in front of this fucking camera. And please come on this journey of, today's episode of, is Dukat all the way a piece of shit, or is there maybe a little bit of good in there?
It is a journey we're going to be on together for a long time.
Well, you know what? Fucking sign me up. I didn't need this bonus DLC, but I'm happy it's here.
It is
Dukat lovely cinema. That's DLC.
Every time he shows up, we're going to call it DLC. I like that.
Yeah, here comes the good. This episode's DLC. And jumping forward, he's obviously got corrupt motives here. He wants the real killer because he knows it's a very high value target that is essentially exposing a spy ring that was direct reporting to Dukat. So just rounding up 10 people and killing them does him no favors ultimately. But maybe also he doesn't want to just needlessly kill laborers or other stuff. Like very mixed gray zone motivations on this guy. Ultimately, it serves a greater good for the station and has good lasting consequences. But who is Odo? Who is Dukat? Odo is only there specifically as a position of authority on the station because of Dukat recognizing talent and tactically accessing what Odo is and is not, and putting him in there to do a great job.
And he ends up obviously sticking with Odo in this role and allowing, in a way, a very non-Cardassian thing to happen, which is there's an independent power center that develops on the station that provides justice that the Cardassians do not typically provide. And he permits it, because he's got this sense of amusement over the fact Odo is just not at all scared of him. just doesn't care. At no stage is Odo personally afraid of Gul Dukat.
I would say he's consistently disrespectful too.
Yeah, like in his face. And he recognizes that if he allows that to happen and then allows people to see Odo as a figure that is actually going to dispense justice, that's useful to him to maintain order. Right? Yep. Like if people feel like they actually have an option, well, then they'll be more compliant because they'll accept the circumstances they're in more readily.
I like that he gives him the security office.
Right. That's just, I've set you up here. This is your office now. And he still has it. It's the same fucking place.
The tech Noir office where like all the displays are green and evil and like the doors look like bars to a cell.
So the investigation starts with the wife who Odo starts to demonstrate like why he's good at being Detective Odo. He's just incredible at reading people. He notices little things about people's body language, but he lacks the, adult social skills to not tell them about it as he catches them lying. But the wife says, "My husband was having an affair. I bet you the trollop that he has been liaising with is responsible." And of course, the wife is the person we saw in the promo, and brings him down to the promenade inside the area where the Bajorans apparently live in a giant hovel, and points out the young woman that he was interested in. And of course, it's a young Kira. Ultimately, when we return back to the flashbacks, Odo has his first conversation with Kira, trying to figure out if her potential responsibility, and you see where their relationship started, which was that she was a fucking murder suspect. That's how he met her, right? This person who he is clearly his only friend, the only person he actually likes, from when they were dealing with the Bajoran Civil War trilogy. Like
Well, the only friend he has that he actually likes, that he doesn't also have sexy murder fantasies about.
That's true. And
or does he? Ooh.
oh no. Oh no.
Run away, Kira.
It's red flags. So
I saw this picture.
Oh God.
I'm assuming at some point they date or something. It's some drawing, and I forget what the setup is. And he's like, can we just please for once be normal? And then she's like, no, now turn into a horse.
Yeah, it sounds about right.
Yeah.
I really loved the way that Odo interacts with Kira in that first conversation, where Kira's like, "You're the most obvious cop in the world."
Well, at first she's like, "No, I'm not a hooker."
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna fuck you. Stop asking. Like, and he's like, "Oh, gross. I don't want sex. I want to ask you very specific questions about your whereabouts."
Mm-hmm.
That's what makes me happy.
She's got a major axe to grind with him because he cooperates with the Cardassians, and she plays her hand heavy that, like, I am very into killing people who work with the Cardassians.
And he does a lot to convince her, like, I am doing this because I want to create order, not because I want to be Gul Dukat's minion. And I am going to find the person responsible for this crime, and that is it. She respects him enough that she doesn't act against him. She lies to him, as we will find out.
She's not strong enough to throw a boulder at his back. What's she going to do to him?
But she's not hostile to him in the way that you might expect Kira to be hostile to him, because he does make it clear, like, he doesn't lie. He really doesn't actually lie. That is very true. And
until he does.
Well, he doesn't lie even to Dukat. He doesn't. He says,
yeah.
I do not believe that she is guilty of this murder. Therefore, she is free to go. That is 100% a true statement.
True, yeah.
He is not being asked to investigate any other crimes. He's been asked to investigate specifically this one, to which he believed she was not responsible. And as these we have these flashbacks, and we go back to the real world, where we're once again getting this amazing narration via security log. We get Odo attempting to get Rom to remember what he saw on the list and getting a name. And this is where the pieces of the puzzle start to come together, which is the list of names that they found was a list of collaborators that worked with the Cardassian government, who became very rich and are presently now having to bribe the wife of whoever this was to keep those names quiet, because they know what happens to those people once those names get publicized. And we have essentially an extortion racket going on that I guess technically we have to stop. But they're really more interested in prosecuting the murders, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what Odo's the most interested in. So the wife probably knew that her husband, the chemist,
was a collaborator,
but she didn't know who he was collaborating with. And this guy, for whatever fucking reason, had a list of names that he hid in the wall.
Insurance policy.
For
in
her?
case he got caught. No, for him. So, okay. What can you give me so I don't kill you? I got the names of 8 other guys that are responsible. I can give them to you in exchange for not dying. Give me some immunity.
They're hidden in a hole in the wall. You know that I'm not just making bullshit names up on the spot.
Right. I recorded these a long time ago.
Odo goes down, plays his hand a little too much, which again continues to be his downfall. He is trusting in weird ways, and whatever. He tells the wife the first name on the list, and then the guy ends up dead. He assumes that maybe the wife just had him killed off, which will ultimately not be the case. But so there's a part that didn't really line up, and it just slipped my mind, so whatever. But through it all, Odo kind of knows that this lady, there's something off about her, but she is not a murderer of her husband. Correct. But they're worried about the Quark thing right now. So, there's tight collaboration between him and Kira. There's ultimately, I think, a betrayal of trust, and that is not really addressed in this, and that's one of my problems with this episode.
I don't like the ending. I agree with you. The plot goes, okay, we've got this name. Odo actually busts his jump to conclusion mat out and goes, I figured out who the other names are on the basis of looking at subpoenaing bank records. I literally followed the money like I'm a goddamn detective on the wire.
And phone calls. All these are brand new phone numbers.
Right. I just wiretapped her and checked her bank records, and it turns out it was super easy to see the crime. She's suddenly calling these 8 jamokes, and they're all giving her $100,000 a piece. So that gets they're guilty, right? Like,
sure.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Appreciate you just showing me what the crime is. I appreciate that. Like, yeah, I just did my job. I surveilled them and then
zero techno babble.
Yeah, just did things you could do in the 20th century.
I dragnet her ass.
Yeah, like Joe Friday did.
Uh-huh.
And so they're trying to seal the deal on her and make her have to come to the station and answer for this. But of course, what did Odo say? He said that Quark was clinging to life. So we got to prevent Quark from dying because he's the person that can really like finger her as the person, that you told me to go steal this. And so she killed the one guy whose name got out and is bribing the rest of them, all that. The smoldering murder guy decides to try and Godfather Part 1 in sickbay. Kill Vito Corleone while he's laid up. This dude already zero chill with his like phaser that sends you back 40 feet.
His kablamo ray
rolls into sick bay with flowers, and the security guard there is like, nope, no visitors, not allowed, sir.
With a gun on his hip.
Yep.
After his boss has said someone's going to try and kill Quark, I need him under armed supervision.
And so apparently the smoldering murder guy is like, yes, but what if I stabbed you? And the guy's like, what? And then suddenly he is being stabbed in the chest through the flowers.
Ow.
And he just falls over. It was like classic red shirt material. Like, you're just fucking dead, I guess. Like,
these flowers really hurt to hold. Oh, it's not the flowers. It's the knife I put in your sternum. Yeah. On Deep Space Nine, the red shirts are wearing Bajoran uniforms, so you really don't care about them dying. These guys are racking up.
He falls out of frame, and nothing else is said about the poor man. Like, did he die? I guess maybe he did. Probably. Good thing he had a line, right? Like, I'm glad he got that, buddy.
Now, smoldering catcher guy who just stabbed a man to death, a security guy to death.
Yes.
Looks down at Quark and goes, "Oh, Quark, go to sleep, sweet prince. I'm going to get you with a fucking pillow. Why don't you just pull the knife out of the other guy? Stab him, break his neck,
shoot him again
with a fucking gun, and just blow his head off like it's a firework." Goes in with the pillow. Now it's time for the light touch, because, you don't want anybody to know you've been there.
So suddenly, of course, Rom walks in and does what Rom does best and just yells at extremely high volume.
Screams like a bitch.
As he gets his ass kicked and thrown into things, all he's doing is going, to the point where it works. And Odo rolls in with security and puts an end to it and saves Quark's life. Did they save the life of the poor guy stabbed? Don't know. Never bothered to show us.
What are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about.
And Quark's clearly going to survive and be able to give evidence. And the femme fatale is going to get imprisoned. Okay, back to the. We're going to finish by talking, I think, about the flashbacks. The key to the flashbacks is that Quark suspects Kira is responsible for the murder and brings her into the office and interrogates her. She lies. He calls her on it. And then she finally confesses some amount of truth, which is to say, yeah, okay, fine. Listen, I'll tell you the truth. If you're only interested in the murder, I'm a member of the Bajoran Resistance. I was sent here to do some espionage. I blew up the ore processing facility. It's going to be down for 2 weeks. I did that just to basically reduce the labor load on the Bajorans on the station. So they literally don't work to death. So I couldn't have murdered this guy because I was busy being a terrorist. But you can't tell them that, or I just get hanged anyway.
I paid Quark to say that I gave him a HJ, so I had an alibi.
I did love that, by the way, that Quark's
wrapped into all of it. Proto Quark.
Yeah, Proto Quark was willing to provide an alibi that includes his dick being sucked. Like, that's very. It almost feels like that was a better alibi than she could have helped for, because like it's so humiliating. It must be true, right? Like, I think that was the angle, and that's what.
Yeah, it's on my Dabo girl contracts. Look at these things. You want to work
here?
You got to
Quark was actually like doing his best to honor his bargain by giving a really good alibi.
Quark, who also has a pre-established relationship personally with Gul Dukat, that he knows what the price is to bribe his way out of problems. And that's both Gul Dukat and Cisco that recognize that Quark has a valuable service that he is providing in this black market to the station.
Yeah, and it's another moment where, like, you wonder how Quark handled being involved with such the dirty business of the occupation. And it's clear he was actually quite willing to help Bajorans out for a price, but always willing to do it, right? He never sold them out. And you can see why people like Kira tolerate him still, because, well, he was an asset when the price was right.
You think that ginger tea is going to make its way into the population on its own?
So while Odo fingers her for being a liar, he believes the story that she was the terrorist. And then when Dukat comes in demanding answers, makes it very clear she's not it and she should go.
Even goes so far as to get her by the arm, completely subduing her.
Yes. Like the grabbed right in the weak spot of every woman, the forearm.
Mm-hmm.
And then lets her go, which she takes advantage of. But of course, in the course of the story, though, Odo has in fact figured out that the femme fatale didn't kill her husband, and the answer was before him the whole time, and that is that Kira did it. Kira had always done it. Kira managed to lie past him, and when he finally confronts her at the end of the episode, she admits to this to say, yeah, you're right. I did kill him. I was here to steal the list. He came in. I killed him because I didn't have much choice. Couldn't let him see me. And yeah, I managed to lie to you and get off the station. And she confesses that she hadn't told him that because he knew he would be upset and it would impact their friendship, and she didn't want to do that. It matters a lot to her what he thinks. And the thing I hate about the episode is that they leave it like somehow Odo can't bridge the gap to say, like, yeah, that was pretty reasonable on your part to lie your way out of getting killed for being a terrorist. Like, I kind of get it now. Like, it was all terrible. That there was no justice to be found in that circumstance. Our friendship's intact. Like, it didn't. It strained credulity to me that Odo wasn't willing to do that.
I didn't think he needed to, man. My read of him at the end was that he was accepting of it. I got two things. One, initially I thought that she was hanging out by the chemist because she was getting terrorist supplies from the chemist, which is obviously not the case. She was there to kill him. Did the chemist actually tell his wife that he was having an affair with her? Was the wife just jealous that the husband was hanging out with the new pretty girl? Like, She turns Odo onto Kira as a suspect. Did she suspect that, oh, this bitch is fucking underground and she killed my collaborator husband? Like,
You're right. They do not spell that out well at all. Like why this is I maybe it is Occam's razor, right? Like maybe it is she saw they were spending time together and just made that assumption. Because they were friends, they're sharing tea. You know, Kira offers all of this. Maybe he was attracted to me, but I never fucked him. So yeah, it could just be that simple. And maybe it is.
maybe she
Maybe it's
did
the right
fuck
way to
him to
read
get
it.
him alone. I mean, these are minor details. Whatever the major detail for me is, again at the end. Oh, I've been lying. I told you this lie forever ago. We've been here now under Federation occupation, or the flag of Starfleet. At no point did you actually come to me and say, "Hey, by the way, I did this thing." My bigger issue is I'm conducting an active murder investigation on someone who's on this station. I shared evidence with you, which then you directly acted against my investigation by telling your death squads that are still active, these Nazi hunters, and they went and fucking killed a witness before I had a chance to talk. You are actively harming my investigation, and you've betrayed my trust in this investigation, not only as my friend, but as my commanding officer. And that should be a real fucking hair up his ass that they touch zero part of.
I agree. I think they were being a little too cautious and trying to find their ending here. And it's a lot of people see this as a great episode of Deep Space Nine. I certainly think it's a very good one, but their failure to commit to, I think, the proper dramatic ending that you just detailed holds it back.
At its core, it's supposed to be a story about who's Odo, why is he there, what was Dukat like back in the day, what was Tarek Noir really. Let's see our first actual footage of Tarek Noir. And I'll tell you
Right.
what, jumping back to the emissary or whatever episode 1 was, whatever condition Cisco finds the space station in, all ratty looking, and thinks that the Cardassians fucked everything up on the way out. I don't think they just had a hey, we're leaving, fuck everything up party. I think they just had a, okay guys, get your stuff, let's go. This is what we've been living in, enjoy living in it too. If anything, I would say it looks a little nicer. But they're like,
Yeah, I was going to say they kind of like they pulled out all the electric fences. Like they didn't. It could have been worse.
They turned a couple extra lights on. They turned the get out lights on. Like, all right, we're shutting the Club Nor's, which is just in the Terminator. It's called Tech Nor. That's the name of the club. They're like, turn on the get out lights. Everybody leave.
Overall, I think this is a good episode, not a great one. I think that the ending holds it back, but so much of it is I can't speak highly enough of the cinematography, the way that shots are designed, especially the going from flashback to the present and back again, and how they're timed is really well handled and engrossing in a way that 1990s television rarely is. So that deserves special recognition. Fantastic.
Crucial character building.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic information for understanding several characters, Dukat, Odo, and Kira primarily. Not, but plenty for Quark, and of course Rom finally being established and what his personality is really going to be for the rest of the season. Pivotal for all of that, worth watching. But people tell you this is as good as Duet, they're lying. It's not quite at that level. It doesn't
Nowhere
finish.
near that level.
It doesn't finish right, and it matters a lot. So
Yeah.
anyway, with that out of the way,
I mean,
with that
it's a
excellent.
bad look for Kira on two fronts: being a continual liar and being disloyal to the station. So bad marks for her. And I appreciate, main characters being portrayed in bad light. Moving on from here, it's not Damage from Enterprise, thankfully. Second Sight, Cisco. First of all, this is a very original series looking still here, huh?
Oh yeah,
Beautiful.
Rough.
Cisco falls in love with a woman visiting the station, but she is not. Believe it or not, Joe. She is not what she appears to be.
I never would have guessed.
When is a love interest ever what she appears to be?
Well, we will find out exactly how she isn't what she appears to be next week here on V'ger Please. Again, if you're listening to this contemporaneously on January 16th, mark your calendar for January 24th. Join us on Discord so that we can watch a terrible movie together and Peter can smugly tell me he told me so.
Yeah.
And then
please don't
right
do
after
this to everybody involved. No good will come of this. There's only woe and ruin waiting in section 31.
See you
Both
later.
for you and Michelle Yeoh's career.